The Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope. Chapter 1. A Beautiful Morning in London. Once upon a time in the city of London there lived a young woman named Belinda. She was beautiful, charming, and very popular among the rich and fashionable people of her time. Everyone admired her sparkling eyes, her graceful manners, and her long, curly hair. Her hair was especially famous. It was so lovely that poets wrote about it and artists tried to paint it. Belinda was part of the upper class, a world where people cared deeply about fashion, parties, and appearances. Every day she spent hours getting ready, choosing the perfect dress, arranging her hair just right, and making sure her makeup was flawless. For Belinda, life was like a grand performance, and she was always the star. One morning, as the sun rose over London, Belinda woke up in her luxurious bed. She stretched lazily and yawned, feeling excited about the day ahead. Today was special because she was invited to a grand party at Hampton Court, the palace of King George II. It would be a day full of games, gossip, and fun with her friends. Belinda lay in bed. Something magical happened. Invisible spirits called sylphs began to gather around her. These sylphs were tiny, fairy-like creatures who watched over beautiful women like Belinda. They protected her jewelry, her dresses, and especially her hair. Their leader, a sylph named Ariel, floated close to Belinda and whispered, "Wake up, dear lady. Your day is about to begin." Belinda opened her eyes and sat up, unaware of the sylphs hovering around her. She rang a bell to call her maid, Betty, who quickly came to help her get ready. Together, they chose a stunning dress and styled her hair into an elaborate design. Belinda looked in the mirror and smiled. "Perfect," she said softly. Ariel, the sylph leader, watched Belinda closely. He could sense that something unusual was going to happen today, something that might upset her. "Be careful, my lady," Ariel thought silently. "Danger is near." After breakfast, Belinda traveled to Hampton Court in a grand carriage. The palace was buzzing with excitement. Noblemen and noblewomen walked through the gardens, showing off their finest clothes and jewels. Belinda stepped out of her carriage, and everyone turned to look at her. She was the center of attention, just as she always was. Among the crowd was a man named Baron. He was handsome and clever, but he had a mischievous streak. For some time, Baron had been admiring Belinda from afar, especially her beautiful hair. That morning, he had made a secret plan. "Today," he thought, "I will cut a lock of her hair and keep it as a prize." Baron wasn't thinking about how Belinda might feel. He only wanted to show off his daring. He didn't realize that his little prank would cause a lot of trouble. As the day went on, Belinda joined her friends in playing cards and chatting. She laughed and joked, enjoying herself immensely. But Ariel, the sylph, grew more and more worried. He gathered his fellow sylphs and gave them instructions. "Stay close to Belinda," he said. "Protect her hair at all costs." The sylphs obeyed, flying around Belinda like tiny guardians. They hovered near her head, shielding her hair from harm. But Baron was determined, and he waited patiently for the right moment to act. Later that afternoon, Belinda and her friends decided to take a break from the games. They sat down to drink tea and eat cakes. Baron saw his chance. While Belinda was distracted, he quietly approached her with a pair of scissors in his hand. "What are you doing?" asked one of Baron's friends, noticing the scissors. "Just a little joke," Baron replied with a sly smile. "No one will even notice." Before anyone could stop him, Baron reached out and snipped off a small lock of Belinda's hair. It was quick and quiet, but the consequences were enormous. When Belinda realized what had happened, she gasped in shock. "My hair!" she cried. "How dare you!" Her friends rushed to her side, outraged by Baron's actions. Some scolded him, while others tried to comfort Belinda. "It's just a lock of hair," one of them said gently. "It will grow back." But Belinda was devastated. To her, the lock of hair was not just a piece of her body. It was a symbol of her beauty and pride. Without it, she felt incomplete. Baron, meanwhile, held the stolen lock triumphantly. "Now I have a treasure," he said to himself. "This will remind me of Belinda forever." The sylphs, who had failed to protect Belinda's hair, were filled with shame. Ariel floated sadly near her ear. "Forgive us, my lady," he whispered. "We tried our best." Belinda ignored the sylphs and focused on her anger. She glared at Baron, her eyes blazing. "You will pay for this," she vowed. "This is war." What would happen next? Would Belinda forgive Baron, or would she seek revenge for the loss of her precious lock? Chapter 2. The fallout of the stolen lock. The room was filled with tension after Baron's bold act. Belinda's friends gathered around her, trying to calm her down, but she was too upset to listen. Her beautiful hair, which she had spent hours perfecting that morning, now felt ruined in her eyes. She stared at Baron, her face red with anger. "How could you do this?" she demanded. "You had no right." Baron, however, didn't seem to understand why Belinda was so upset. He held up the lock of hair and smiled smugly. "It's just a small piece," he said lightly. "Surely it's not worth all this fuss." Belinda's friends began to argue among themselves. Some sided with her, scolding Baron for his thoughtlessness. Others tried to downplay the situation, saying it was just a harmless prank. "Come." "Now, Belinda," one of them said gently. "It's only a lock of hair. It will grow back soon enough." But Belinda wasn't listening. To her, the stolen lock represented more than just her appearance. It symbolized her pride, her identity, and her place in society. In a world where beauty and status mattered above all else, losing even a small part of herself felt like a great insult. Ariel, the leader of the sylphs, floated nearby, watching the chaos unfold. He felt responsible for failing to protect Belinda's hair, and wished there was something he could do to fix the situation. "We must find a way to make things right," he whispered to the other sylphs. "Belinda's heart is breaking because of our failure." The sylphs nodded, but they weren't sure what to do. They were tiny, magical creatures. They couldn't undo what Baron had done. Still, they vowed to stay close to Belinda and help her in any way they could. As the argument continued, Baron grew defensive. "I meant no harm," he insisted. "If anything, I've given you a gift. This lock of hair will be a reminder of your beauty for years to come." Belinda glared at him. "A reminder? You think I want to remember this day? You've humiliated me in front of everyone." Her words struck a nerve. Baron realized that his prank had gone too far, but he was too proud to apologize. Instead, he shrugged and walked away, leaving Belinda and her friends behind. He tucked the stolen lock into a small box and carried it with him, still convinced that it was a treasure worth keeping. Belinda sank into a chair, tears streaming down her face. Her friends tried to comfort her, but nothing they said made her feel better. "This isn't just about my hair," she whispered. "It's about respect. He took something from me without asking, something precious, and he doesn't even care." One of her closest friends, a young woman named Thalestris, stepped forward. "Don't worry, Belinda," she said firmly. "We won't let him get away with this. We'll make him pay for what he's done." Thalestris turned to the others and rallied them. "Let's show Baron that we won't tolerate such behavior. Together we can teach him a lesson he won't forget." The group agreed, and they began to plan their revenge. Meanwhile, Belinda sat quietly, lost in thought. She imagined all the ways she could punish Baron, publicly shaming him, ruining his reputation, or even challenging him to a duel. But none of these ideas brought her peace. Deep down, she knew that revenge wouldn't bring back her hair or restore her sense of dignity. Ariel noticed Belinda's sadness and decided to intervene. He floated closer and whispered softly in her ear, "My lady, do not let anger consume you. Revenge may bring temporary satisfaction, but it will not heal your heart." Belinda looked around, startled by the voice. She couldn't see Ariel, but she felt his presence. "Who's there?" she asked. "It is I, Ariel," the sylph replied. "I am here to guide and protect you. Trust me when I say that forgiveness is stronger than anger." Belinda hesitated. Forgiveness seemed impossible at that moment. How could she forgive someone who had hurt her so deeply? Yet Ariel's words stayed with her, planting a small seed of doubt in her mind. Later that evening, as the party wound down, Belinda returned home. She sat in front of her mirror, staring at her reflection. Without the missing lock, her hair looked uneven and strange. She sighed heavily, feeling defeated. At the same time, Baron examined the stolen lock in private. He placed it on a velvet cushion and admired it under the light. "What a prize," he murmured. "Truly, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." But as he gazed at the lock, he began to feel uneasy. Was it really worth all the trouble it had caused? He remembered Belinda's tears and the angry glares of her friends. For the first time, he wondered if he had gone too far. That night, as Belinda lay in bed, she dreamed of the sylphs. They appeared to her in a shimmering vision, surrounding her with soft, glowing light. Ariel spoke again, his voice gentle but firm. "Belinda, do not let this incident define you. Your true strength lies not in your beauty, but in your character. Choose kindness over anger, and you will rise above this moment." When Belinda woke up, she felt a little calmer. She still hadn't forgiven Baron, but she realized that holding on to her anger wasn't helping her. Perhaps there was another way to handle the situation, one that didn't involve revenge. Meanwhile, Baron struggled with his guilt. He considered returning the lock to Belinda, but his pride stopped him. What would people think of me if I admitted I was wrong? He wondered. They'd laugh at me for sure. The next morning, Belinda received an invitation to another gathering, a masquerade ball at Hampton Court. At first, she wanted to refuse, fearing that everyone would talk about the stolen lock. But then she had an idea. If she attended the ball and faced Baron publicly, she could show him that she wasn't afraid or ashamed. She would prove that her spirit was stronger than his cruelty. With renewed determination, Belinda prepared for the ball. She chose an elegant mask and a stunning dress, determined to outshine everyone else. As she got ready, the sylphs worked tirelessly to ensure that she looked her best. "Tonight," Ariel said, "you will shine brighter than ever before." Little did Belinda know, Baron was also planning to attend the ball. He hoped to smooth things over with her, though he wasn't sure how. Both of them were heading toward a confrontation that would change everything. What would happen at the masquerade ball? Would Belinda confront Baron, or would fate intervene in unexpected ways? Chapter 3. The Masquerade Ball. The night of the masquerade ball arrived, and Hampton Court was transformed into a dazzling wonderland. Colorful lanterns hung from the ceilings, casting soft light over the grand hall. Masks of every design, feathers, jewels, intricate patterns, covered the faces of the guests, adding an air of mystery and excitement. Music played softly in the background, and laughter echoed through the room as people danced, chatted, and mingled. Belinda entered the ballroom with her head held high. She wore a stunning mask adorned with glittering gems that sparkled like stars. Her dress flowed gracefully around her, and though her hair was still uneven without the stolen lock, she carried herself with confidence. Tonight, she was determined to show Baron, and everyone else, that she was not defeated. If anything, she was more radiant than ever. Baron, too, was at the ball. He had chosen a simple black mask to conceal his identity, but he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in his chest. He scanned the room, searching for Belinda. When he finally spotted her, his breath caught in his throat. Even without the missing lock of hair, she was breathtakingly beautiful. For a moment, he felt regret for what he had done, but then he reminded himself that it was just a prank, a harmless joke. "She'll get over it," he muttered under his breath. As the evening went on, Belinda avoided Baron, focusing instead on enjoying the party. She danced with several admirers, laughed with her friends, and even participated in a playful game of cards. Yet, no matter how much fun she pretended to have, she couldn't ignore the nagging thought of confronting Baron. Every time their eyes met across the room, she felt a mix of anger and determination bubbling inside her. Finally, during a break in the dancing, Belinda decided it was time to face him. With her head held high and her heart racing, she approached Baron. "Good evening," she said coolly, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. Baron froze, caught off guard by her sudden appearance. He hesitated before responding. "Good evening, Miss Belinda," he replied, trying to sound casual. "You look lovely tonight." Belinda ignored the compliment. "We need to talk," she said firmly. "In private." Baron nodded nervously and followed her to a quiet corner of the ballroom. Once they were alone, Belinda turned to him, her eyes blazing beneath her mask. "Why did you take my hair?" she demanded. Do you realize how much it hurt me? Baron shifted uncomfortably. I didn't mean to upset you, he said. It was just a joke. I thought it would be funny. A joke? Belinda repeated, her voice rising slightly. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Do you think that's funny? Baron looked down, unable to meet her gaze. No, he admitted quietly. I see now that it wasn't funny. I'm sorry if I hurt you. Belinda studied him carefully, searching for sincerity in his expression. His apology seemed genuine, but she wasn't ready to forgive him just yet. Sorry isn't enough, she said. You took something precious from me and you don't even understand why it mattered. Before Baron could respond, a commotion erupted in the center of the ballroom. Everyone turned to see what was happening. A group of servants had entered carrying a large golden box. They placed it in the middle of the room and stepped back, bowing respectfully. What is this? Someone asked curiously. A man dressed as a fortune-teller stepped forward, his mask shaped like an owl. Behold, he announced dramatically, inside this box lies the answer to all your questions. Approach it, and you may discover the truth about yourselves or others. The guests murmured excitedly, eager to uncover the mystery. One by one, they approached the box and peered inside. Some gasped, others laughed, and a few looked thoughtful as they returned to their places. When it was Belinda's turn, she hesitated. Ariel, who had been watching silently from the shadows, whispered encouragement. Go ahead, my lady, he said. Perhaps the box holds answers for you. Belinda stepped forward and opened the lid. Inside, she saw a tiny mirror reflecting her own face. At first, she was confused, but then she noticed something written around the edge of the mirror. True beauty comes from within. Belinda stared at the message, her heart pounding. It was as if the words were meant specifically for her. She thought about all the time she had spent worrying about her appearance, the hours in front of the mirror, the obsession with perfection. Was this what truly mattered? Or was there something deeper, something more meaningful? As Belinda stepped away from the box, it was Baron's turn. He hesitated, glancing nervously at Belinda before opening the lid. Inside, he found another mirror, but this one showed not his reflection, but Belinda's face. Beneath it, the inscription read, Respect is earned, not taken. Baron's hands trembled as he closed the lid. The message struck a chord deep within him. He realized that his actions had disrespected Belinda, not just her beauty, but her dignity and worth as a person. He felt a wave of shame wash over him. When Baron returned to Belinda, he looked at her with newfound respect. I understand now, he said softly. I was wrong to take your hair. It wasn't just a joke. It was selfish and cruel. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday. Belinda listened carefully, weighing his words. She could see that he truly regretted what he had done. Slowly, she nodded. I accept your apology, she said. But remember this. Kindness and respect are more important than any treasure. Baron bowed his head gratefully. Thank you, Belinda. You've taught me a valuable lesson. As the night continued, the atmosphere in the ballroom shifted. The tension between Belinda and Baron dissolved, replaced by a sense of understanding and mutual respect. Belinda danced freely, her spirit lighter than it had been in days. Baron watched her from afar, feeling both admiration and humility. Unbeknownst to them, the sylphs celebrated quietly in the corners of the room. Ariel smiled as he watched Belinda embrace forgiveness, and Baron learn from his mistakes. This is how it should be, he thought. Peace restored, hearts healed. But even as the party drew to a close, questions lingered in the air. What would happen to the stolen lock of hair? Would Baron return it? Or would it remain a symbol of the lessons they had learned? Chapter 4. The Fate of the Lock. The masquerade ball ended late into the night, and as the guests departed, Belinda returned home feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, she was relieved that her confrontation with Baron had gone well. He had apologized sincerely, and she had accepted it. On the other hand, the stolen lock of hair still weighed heavily on her mind. Though she had forgiven Baron, the lock itself remained missing, a symbol of the incident that had shaken her confidence. Meanwhile, Baron sat alone in his study, staring at the small box where he had kept the lock of hair. He opened it carefully and examined the delicate strands, now bathed in moonlight. For days he had viewed the lock as a prize, a trophy of his daring prank. But after the events of the ball, especially the message in the golden box, he saw it differently. It wasn't just a piece of hair. It represented something far greater. Belinda's pride, her identity, and the trust he had broken. "I can't keep this," Baron muttered to himself. "It doesn't belong to me." He thought about returning it to Belinda directly, but he hesitated. What if she rejected him again? What if she didn't believe his remorse? Then an idea came to him. Perhaps there was another way to make amends, one that would honor Belinda's beauty and ensure the lock was treated with the respect it deserved. The next morning, Baron visited a skilled craftsman known for creating exquisite jewelry. He brought the lock of hair with him and explained his request. "I want you to make something extraordinary," Baron said. "Something that will preserve this forever." The craftsman nodded, understanding the gravity of the task. Over the next few days he worked tirelessly, crafting a beautiful locket made of gold and adorned with tiny diamonds. Inside, he carefully placed the stolen lock of hair, sealing it away so it could never be damaged or lost. When the locket was finished, it sparkled like a star, capturing the elegance and grace of its owner. Baron held the locket in his hands, marveling at its beauty. "This is how it should be," he thought, "not hidden away as a secret shame, but celebrated as a work of art." With the locket ready, Baron decided to send it to Belinda along with a letter. He wrote carefully, choosing his words with sincerity. "Dear Belinda, please accept this token as a gesture of my deepest regret. I know no apology can undo the harm I caused, but I hope this locket serves as a reminder of your unmatched beauty and strength. You have taught me a valuable lesson about respect and kindness, and for that I am eternally grateful. May this small gift bring you peace. Yours sincerely, Baron." He wrapped the locket in velvet cloth, and sent it to Belinda's home with a trusted messenger. When Belinda received the package, she was surprised. She opened it cautiously, unsure of what to expect. Her breath caught when she saw the locket. It was stunning, far more beautiful than anything she had imagined. As she read Baron's letter, tears welled up in her eyes, not from sadness, but from gratitude. She realized that Baron had truly changed. His actions showed that he understood the significance of what he had taken. Belinda clasped the locket around her neck and looked at herself in the mirror. The diamonds sparkled against her skin, and she felt a sense of closure. The stolen lock was no longer a source of pain. It had become a symbol of growth and forgiveness. Ariel, who had been watching over her, smiled faintly. "You have turned a moment of loss into one of triumph," he whispered. "Your heart is stronger than any insult." Belinda touched the locket gently, feeling a quiet resolve settle within her. She knew that life would always have challenges, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them. From that day forward, she vowed to focus less on appearances and more on the qualities that truly mattered: kindness, courage, and compassion. As word of the locket spread among their social circle, people began to see Belinda and Baron in a new light. Belinda was admired not just for her beauty, but for her grace and ability to forgive. Baron, too, earned respect for his humility and willingness to make amends. Together, they became examples of how misunderstandings could be resolved through honesty and effort. However, the story of the lock did not end there. Some say that the Sylphs continued to watch over Belinda, ensuring that her newfound wisdom guided her choices. Others claim that the locket itself held magical powers, protecting its wearer from vanity and pride. Whatever the truth, the tale of the stolen lock lived on, passed down through generations as a reminder of the importance of respect, forgiveness, and inner beauty. Yet even as peace seemed to settle over Belinda and Baron's world, whispers of mischief lingered in the air. Somewhere, unseen forces stirred, hinting that the line between humor and harm is often thinner than it appears. Would the lessons learned endure, or would new challenges arise to test them once more?